And just I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm gonna take over. And let me go in here. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
You see that, Leanne? Okay,
yep.
Perfect.
You're good.
All right. And then let me just get mine up. Okay, awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Cool. Angelique, we're seeing your presenter view, so you might switch those.
Okay, let me go back here. Let me see here. We'll stop this. And hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Is my screen no longer sharing?
That is correct.
Okay. Let me bring it back up here. I think I had it already set up and it was sharing it twice. Just give me a moment. All right. Okay. Let me hop out of here.
So Angelique, while you're doing that, I think you can probably
yes.
task. Somebody's already asked, what is an antique truck? So what
do we consider an antique truck?
Mm-hmm.
So, when you look at antique trucks, a lot of times we look at what the state considers an antique truck because we have to follow the state insurance guidelines for your particular state. So in general, 25 years or older is considered an antique truck. But with that said, we also do insure collector trucks. So if it is something newer than that, we will definitely take a look at that for you. Even though it may not be an antique, it's still a collector. You have a lot of time and money into that. So we do obviously insure antique trucks, but we also look at newer collector ones as well, as long as they're not being used commercially anymore. So hold on 1 second. Let me bring. Okay. Okay, are you seeing my screen or?
You are seeing the screen we're supposed to. You're good.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for understanding with these technical difficulties here, but we'll go ahead and get started. Leanne introduced me, but I want to my name is Angelique Hathaway. I work for Hagerty Insurance. I am in our specialty department. So our specialty department, we look at insuring everything besides your typical classic car, you will. So we look at retired commercial vehicles like semis, boats, motorcycles, motorsports, tractors, military vehicles. So kind of all your other fun toys that you have. So that's where my focus is at Hagerty. I just want to thank you guys for letting us be part of this very cool first virtual national convention. And we're just proud to be partner with you guys. So we'll go ahead and get started. So when we look at antique vehicles, we understand that your truck's a hardworking hero that's earned its retirement and deserves the best protection for the long haul. Many of you have spent countless hours restoring your semi or other collector vehicle. We understand you've invested your blood, sweat, and tears into the restoration. I'm sure before you were done, you asked yourself, why did I go through this labor of love? Maybe it's your lifelong dream to own a cool rig after you watch Smokey and the Bandit or one of the Convoy movies as a kid. Or maybe you even watched BJ and the Bear was your favorite TV show. Maybe it was your first semi-truck you started your career with. Or, maybe it was just that you wanted to honor your grandfather's legacy and preserve the family's trucking history. So now that you've completed this amazing restoration, now what? Well, for us, we want you, to get out on the road and enjoy the ride, show off your big rig. Unfortunately, I hear from too many people that I meet at shows. After an extensive restoration, they're actually quite leery about driving their vehicle and hardly ever take it out. This is what we're here to talk about today: how to find the right insurance coverage for your antique vehicle and have peace of mind so you can hit the open road and enjoy the ride with confidence. So the topics that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the different insurance policy types that are available for collector vehicles, additional coverages that you want to look at, talk about modifications and any kind of customization that you're doing to your cars, claims, that process, and take a look at how all of us can work together to preserve the hobby. When it comes to insurance, a primary concern, and rightfully so, of classic and collector vehicle owners is how much your policy will pay out if you have an accident and your truck is a total loss. Of course, much of that payout depends on the type of coverage you have on your vehicle. So let's talk about the 3 different types of policies available out there for personal vehicle insurance. So the first policy that you see is actual cash value. So actual cash value is used because most vehicles begin depreciating the moment they're driven off the lot. Standard insurance companies will insure your cars accordingly. They will adjust your payout based on what the vehicle would be worth the day of the accident prior to any damage occurring, instead of what you originally paid. This is referred to as a vehicle's actual cash value. The second type of policy that's out there is called a stated value policy. Now, stated value is coverage that reflects an amount that is stated at the onset of the policy. You tell your insurance company what your car is worth, usually with required proper documentation like an appraisal, and it is insured for that amount. Now, the caveat here is, however, with a stated value policy, the insurance company can choose to pay you either stated value or actual cash value, typically whatever is less. The third type of policy that's out there is what we call an agreed value or guaranteed value policy. So agreed value coverage is primarily offered by specialty insurance companies. It's based on the proven value of your vehicle as determined by you and the insurance company. With agreed value coverage, the insurance company will guarantee that they will pay this agreed upon value in the event of a covered total loss. So if you own a classic or collector vehicle that is maintaining or increasing in value, agreed value is the best option to consider. Or you may be at risk losing out significantly if you have an accident. It's important to note that most standard insurance companies do not typically offer agreed value unless they have a partnership with a specialty provider. If there's anything you should know about your insurance, this one's at the top of the list. Make sure you ask your insurance company what kind of coverage you have. And I would recommend, and you make sure that it's agreed value if you do have a collector vehicle.
Hey, Angelique, a couple of questions here real quick.
Of course.
Do you insure all types of antique trucks?
Yes. Yeah, so it could be any retired commercial vehicle. It could be a dump truck. It could be a milk truck, semis, buses, as long as they are not used for commercial use anymore. They're retired.
Okay.
But yeah, it could be just a standard truck, F-150s. Yeah.
Okay, and that actually leads into his next question is, does an antique truck have to be licensed as an antique or historic truck?
No. Well, and there's some exceptions to that. So there are some, and that requirement is not us. So there are some states out there, I think there's like 7 of them, California, Georgia, New York, I think Texas, Virginia, there's some other ones, where semis in that state are considered commercial vehicles regardless. And in order to, they need to have an antique plate in order to be on a personal insurance policy. So in those states, if you do not have an antique plate, those insurance companies, well, the Department of Insurance in that state will not allow you to put it on a personal policy unless you have an antique plate. So if you had a newer vehicle and you didn't have an antique plate in one of those states, we wouldn't be allowed to offer you coverage, and that would be more of a state requirement versus us. But if there's any questions, you can always, reach out to us. I hope that answers someone's question.
Yeah. Okay. And is the Hagerty policies typically an agreed policy?
It is. That's actually, so we have what we call a guaranteed value policy, and that's all we do. We don't offer any type of policy besides that. And because of that, we don't insure someone's daily driver. So if you have a minivan and that's, your vehicle that you drive every day, take the kids to school, grocery store and stuff, we can't insure those because the fact that we have a guaranteed value policy, because more than likely that minivan is going to depreciate in value. So we can't offer a guaranteed value payout on that type of vehicle. But yes, that's all we do.
Okay, I'm not sure you can answer this question, but I'll ask it anyway. We'll see.
Sure.
If not, maybe we'll have to do some follow-up. How do I avoid DOT inspection stations with my 56 Mac? It weighs about 12,000 pounds and has air brakes updated to maxi brakes. I do want to drive this truck a fair amount every year. Not sure if you.
Yeah, that's getting into laws and so forth, which I'm not an expert at. I can tell you that, with collector vehicles, a lot of times once you put an antique plate on there, they do give you a little bit more freedom. And some are, once you put an antique plate on there, they are a little bit more restrictive in the States. So, they're stating that they don't want you to drive it all the time. They want to make sure you're only doing hobby use with that particular vehicle. That's not our restrictions, but sometimes when you have that antique plate, the states do kind of restrict how you use that vehicle. But I'm sorry, I can't answer any of the laws.
The best bet for that is to contact your local transportation association. Yeah. I'll have that answer for you. And then Brian's asking, this is kind of a business question, but is Hagerty taking over Gulfway Insurance?
So we are not. Gulfway, Mel, reached out to us, and he is actually looking at retiring here in the next couple of years. And he heard about our program, he heard about us, and he has partnered with us. And so if you are a customer client right now with Gulfway, you about 60 days or so before your renewal, you will be getting a letter from Mel and letting them know that that you have the opportunity to renew your policy going forward with Hagerty. So no one's bought anyone, but Mel, yeah, we were very happy to work with Mel. Mel's been associated with ATHS and your members for many, many years. And, you know, he has done a great job providing coverage for your members. And he just wanted to make sure that they had coverage going forward with proper coverage.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So your friend David,
Yeah.
happens to be right there on the screen, asked, does Hagerty adjust the value of the vehicle automatically each year as an appreciation, or should the insured get with Hagerty each year to confer?
So we do not adjust that automatically for you. You know, sometimes when, so let me just kind of step back for a minute. So at Hagerty, for classic cars, we do have the largest classic car valuation tool in the world that everyone uses, including appraisers out there. So if we notice in a particular vehicle that has just really taken off in the marketplace, sometimes we will say, reach out to certain clients and say, do you realize that the particular vehicle you have over the last 3 years has increased, you know, drastically in values for whatever reason? So sometimes we will have, you know, things like that, what we will do. But we don't have a type of policy where we automatically increase your value. We do have something with our coverage. If you have a vehicle that's under restoration, that we can automatically increase that value 10% every year if you're undergoing an active restoration. But if you have a vehicle with us and say you've now put, you know, got a brand new paint job on there, definitely give us a call, because if you just put 15, 20 grand into a paint job, your truck is worth a lot more than it was when you originally insured it with us. So give us a call. We can easily raise those values, but we don't have an automatic program to do that.
Okay. And Chris wants to know if garages are required.
So garages are required in some states. Once again, that is really tied to our underwriting company and what they require in that particular state. And then also in some counties, garaging is required. You know, in garaging, when you look at that, there's a couple different reasons why we may require garaging. A couple of states, it's definitely weather related. So if you are in a state that maybe has quite a bit of hail damage, or if you are in a state that is prone to hurricanes, that's sometimes we may require some garaging in certain areas. Also, unfortunately, there are some areas in the country where theft is extremely high in certain counties. Los Angeles County, in Miami-Dade County, it's really high. So they do, if you have a really valuable collector vehicle, we're going to want that garaged inside and not, visible. Now, a semi is not something that someone can easily steal. There's not a lot of people that know how to drive them, steal them. So if you are in a state that requires garaging, and in general, we may say no, but if you are, this is something where we are always willing to take a closer look at a situation, and we can make some exceptions because, if you look at, like I said, for like California is a state that we typically require garaging for. But we know that if you're in rural California and you're not in a major city, theft may not be relevant to your semi as it would maybe a smaller collector vehicle. So check with us. And if it is a state that normally requires garaging, we want to work with you and see if we can make some accommodations.
Okay. Just a quick comment, John Vanetta, circling back to the DOT question, just to let you guys, let everybody who's listening know that generally you can't avoid scales and inspections. In Maryland, where he lives, for instance, it is part of the law concerning antique plates on a large truck. It's best to assume you need to, unless you know better. So there's that.
Makes sense.
Exactly. Always err on the side of caution.
That's right.
Richard wants to know, does Hagerty policy cover the value of the vehicle, or does it also provide coverage for traffic accidents?
So when you say traffic accidents, are you talking about like collision coverage? I guess just.
I'm assuming that's probably.
Okay, yes. So our policy, so we give you everything that you're required to have to drive any vehicle on the streets. So you're going to have full collision coverage, full liability, and then, of course, fire, theft, vandalism, all those miscellaneous things that can happen. So yes, we do.
So, all right, that's all the questions we have for now.
Okay, awesome. These are great questions. Keep them coming. I love them. So one thing we also need to look at is not all policies are created equal, even agreed value policies. So what you need to make sure is pay attention to any restrictions or exclusions. It's important to have a policy that allows you to use your classic vehicle how you use it. So this is when we talk about flexible usage. So the first one I want to talk about is freedom to drive. So if you have a collector policy or agreed value policy, do they have mileage restrictions? Can you only drive to a car show? You need to also ask, are you allowed to drive to a show in another state? Is pleasure use allowed? Or are they only going to let you use on this policy your classic vehicle for hobby use only? So these are things that you want. If you are driving across state lines and going to other shows, make sure that you don't have any kind of restrictions on there. The second one I want to talk about is youthful drivers. So what are the age restrictions on the policy? A lot of collector policies do have age restrictions. So, are they do they allow 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 21-year-olds, or 25-year-olds? Are they going to allow your 18-year-old son who worked on the restoration with you for the last 3 years to even drive your classic vehicle? This is something that you definitely should check into. At Hagerty, our age is 16. Of course, they have to have a valid driver's license and be a good driver. So if they had like 4 speeding tickets in their first year, we're not going to let them drive. But if they're a good driver and, we want our young generation to get involved in the classic hobby, and especially if they are working on a car and that's their passion, we got to respect that and we got to let them drive these vehicles. Now, I know with semis, age restrictions are based on CDLs, so that's a different kind of scenario. But if you have another classic vehicle, we are going to let that youthful drive. The next thing we want to talk about is hauling and towing, which I know is important to a lot of you. So you need to make sure that the policy will allow you to haul or tow a second collector vehicle or even your restored truck trailer that matches your rig to a show. Whenever you buy your insurance, remember to always discuss how you use your vehicle to ensure you receive all the proper coverages for your unique situation. So we kind of talked about this a little bit, but when insurance companies say full coverage, what do they mean? So your standard insurance policy is going to cover you for collision, fire, theft, and liability. But to fully cover your classic vehicle, insurance policies should also include unique additional coverages that are designed for your classic. So the first one I want to talk about is vehicle under restoration. So can you get specialized coverage to protect your truck during all stages of a vehicle restoration? A restoration of a vehicle takes a lot of time and money. Make sure you can protect your investment in the restoration along the way. So if I am restoring a vehicle and, I'm halfway through it, and at this point, I have $40,000 invested in this vehicle, lots of time. And, it's stored in my home garage. It's not running. Most standard insurance companies will not give you coverage on that because it's not roadworthy yet, if you will. But we do understand that you have time and money invested, and what is there has value. So we will cover vehicles while they're under restoration. So it's something, couple misconceptions on that. This is that a lot of people feel that this vehicle would be covered under their homeowner's policy, unless you take out a special rider. But any type of auto or vehicle is not covered under your homeowner's policy. Autos always have to have a separate standalone policy for any kind of vehicle. So make sure if you in a middle of a restoration that you do get proper coverage for that. The other additional coverage to look for is spare parts and tools coverage. So this is another extra you should be on the lookout for when comparing shopping for insurance. Chances are you may have some extra parts laying around if you own a collector vehicle, or if your vehicle's in the middle of a restoration like many classics are. So if I'm in the middle of a restoration, I'm going to have I may have all kinds of parts as well in my garage that I've bought for this vehicle, but I haven't put on them yet. So a good example for this is a lot of times you have really rare or valuable engines. This is pretty common in your classic muscle cars, where they actually take them out and store them, and we'll put a newer engine in there because they want to make sure they preserve that engine. We can insure those because they're actually very valuable. Or if you have, the original toolkit or accessories, luggage, or all those cool things that came with that classic, we can insure all of those as well. This is going to make sure you have the proper coverage for these valuable tools and spare parts. And the third one that we want to look at here is automobilia coverage. So oftentimes we are collectors, right? And we may collect gas pumps or signs or other collectibles of our favorite makes and models. A lot of times these can often be quite valuable. I would recommend that you protect these and put them on an agreed value policy. Your homeowner's policy, the contents that you have, is typically an actual cash value policy. So they may dictate what they're going to pay if you did have like a fire in your garage for these. So something to look at also for this.
Hey, Angelique, a question about driver's license. Do you have to have a CDL, or is a regular driver's license enough to meet insurance needs for non-commercial?
Non-commercial, you just need a regular driver's license. Mm-hmm. No CDL.
Okay.
CDL is only if the state requires it, then you're gonna have to have it as well.
Gotcha.
We always have to comply with the states, just like anyone else, right? So
exactly.
But yes, no. If you have a classic, old truck, a Mustang, something like that, and just need to have a valid driver's license. That's it.
And then John wants to know, when it comes to guaranteed value, my experience is that you generally accept our estimate of value. How do you handle people who grossly over or underestimate value? Do you ever require an appraisal, or when do you question the provided value?
Great question. So we, a lot of times, people will come and they ask us to insure a vehicle that is grossly above what it probably should be insured for. So we want to work with everyone. So we ask them, so why do you feel, we'll give them examples of other vehicles similar to theirs. And, a lot of times they may have a story. There may be some provenance with it. A celebrity owned it, or, this was, one of 5 made or something like that. So we ask for additional information to try and help, and then we'll work with them to try and get them the higher amount. But sometimes, this is where we have to agree up front with that. We don't, and the other thing is we don't want someone to grossly underinsure their vehicle either. So in that situation, you don't want to, if my collector car is worth, let's say $100,000, and I, feel like I only want to cover half of my, the investment in this vehicle, and say I want to insure it for $50,000. So the problem there is you got to make sure that there are state laws when it comes to the percentage of a loss and when it's totaled. So you don't want to be in that situation where if you own a vehicle that's truly worth $100,000 and you're only valuing it at 50, well, you could be in a situation where if that state requires anything above 80% is a loss, a total, you just don't want your car to get totaled out according to state laws. So we're not going to let you insure your vehicle grossly under as well. So we want to make sure you're protected there.
Great.
But great question.
Thank you. All right, that's all I have for now.
Okay, no problem. So the other important thing to look at when you looking at buying insurance is all of your modifications and all of your customization that you've done to your collector vehicle. So the first thing you need to really look at is how these are covered on your insurance policy. So let's kind of look at some of these things that really can add up, and you want to make sure that they cover them properly. So the first one is a high value paint job. So let's say I have a custom paint job and I'm involved in an accident that damages the front corner, just the front corner panel of your car or truck. More than likely, you are going to need to repaint the entire vehicle to match it. Anytime there's custom paint, there's just no way it's going to look the same. Will your insurance company recommend or pay to have the entire vehicle repainted? Or are they just going to pay to repaint the damaged section? So I've heard this before, customers that have come to us after they've unfortunately had an unfortunate experience with an insurance company where they had to pay out of pocket because there's no way they were just going to paint that one little section, but that's all the insurance company would pay for. So this is something to really keep in mind if you do have custom paint jobs on your rig. The other thing is custom interior. So of course we all know sky's the limit here on what you can do to customize your interior. You have custom truck sleepers, seats, upholstery, interior accessories, your brake knobs, switches, dash knobs, lighting, steering wheel. That's just to name a few here. So make sure, talk to them about that. This stuff adds up really quick. And if you have really taken the time to customize your interior, make sure that they're going to cover that if something happens. If you have the next one we want to talk about is, custom fabrication. So you have a lot of times, your deck plates, the cab and sleeper panels, hidden toolboxes, battery box lids, custom latch and opening systems, fuel tanks. These are all things that you had custom fabricated, and you can't just replace these items from a part on a shelf. Also a lot of times we have custom light boxes, your light panels, bumper lights, the light tubes. These are almost always part of any kind of restoration or build. Chrome, of course, right? It's all about the chrome on these trucks. So your grills, your stacks, the horns, glider kits, all of these stuff, you need to ask them, how are they going to replace these or cover these? Other big one here is upgraded engines. So this happens a lot. So you've replaced or modified your, modified your Detroit diesel engine to get more horsepower and higher torque to get you moving faster down the road. How are they going to fix that? Are they going to replace it with the same engine, or are they going to just give you a stock engine? So quite a bit of difference there in cost. So you want to make sure, if I have a modified engine in there, are they going to put the same modified engine back in there? So next thing we want to talk about is claims. So of course, losses are painful enough already. Your insurance claim process should be easy and painless. So let's look at collaborative repair selection. So what I mean by this is, are you going to be able to choose the repair shop of your choice, or does the insurance company mandate who will fix your vehicle? We know this is very important. A lot of times you have certain shops that you know and trust that have worked on your vehicle in the past. And if something happened to them, you want to take it back to them because you know that they're going to be able to fix it correctly. A lot of times also, maybe you are the one that works on your vehicle and no one touches your baby but you. Is your insurance company going to allow you to do the repairs yourself? I can say at Hagerty, we will, and we will actually pay you to do the work. The other thing there is, can your insurance company, say you don't have an expert repair shop that you've worked with before, can they recommend one to you? Do they have a network of specialized repair shops that they know and trust and have track record for them that they can actually send you to have your vehicle repaired? The other thing important in the claims process is, does your insurance company have collectible expertise? And so what I mean by that is, when you call in to make your claim, to the individuals that you're talking to, do they have experience? Are they trained in classic vehicle repair? Do they even recognize the difference between a collector vehicle and just an old car? Do they have parts specialists on staff to track down hard to find OEM or new old stock parts? That's one thing. You don't want to be in a situation where you have this classic car and they're going to tell you, well, you just need to, put a new part on there, which is not going to be correct. And it's not acceptable. And do they once again have a list or, resources for you to go to help find these hard to find parts? I actually, at Hagerty, what interesting thing is, if you are a member with us, we do have a department that's all they do is track down parts. So say, don't even have to be in a claim situation. If you are looking for a specific part to put or replace on your vehicle, give us a call. We will actually help you track down that part for you. The other thing we need to look at is appraisers. So the appraiser, if you do have an accident, an appraiser comes out to look at your vehicle. Is this appraiser someone who always goes out and looks at minivans or Toyotas? your everyday cars? Or does the appraiser even understand classic cars or how to repair them? And the big thing there is, do they even have an understanding of classic vehicle values? So that's also very important to ask an insurance company. Next thing we want to talk about is salvage. So this is very important. If I am in a pretty bad accident, or if there's a fire or something, flooding, something that happens, make sure you have first rights of salvage. If this was my grandfather's truck, I want that truck back no matter what. I am going to rebuild it. That actual truck is important to me. So make sure if your car's a total loss, do you have the option to buy it back and rebuild it yourself? Always make sure you have first rights to salvage if that's important to you. There's some collectors where there is no family history, and they're fine just taking the total payout and going and buying another collector. But if it is important to you, make sure that you have first rights of salvage. There are some policies that do allow you, there are endorsements on there that will give you the salvage vehicle and the full payout in a total loss. So you wouldn't have to buy back your salvage, you would automatically get it plus the full payout in a total loss. The other thing to look at is the dedicated and efficient service of that claims department. So how quick do they respond to claims? Are they available 7 days a week? Can you process a claim online on the web if that's something that's important to you? And then how fast are they processing their claims? How long does it take them to pay out your claim? There's nothing worse than, waiting months and months to get something back from an insurance company. What I would look at here, is how are they rated by their customers for their claim experiences? How do they stack up compared to other insurance companies? So this will kind of give you a good indicator how they're stacking up. It's something that we always look at. Funny thing is, when we look at different insurance companies and then just different markets across the industry, how they stack up compared. But the lowest one out there, company, not insurance, just any company across all industries, was actual cable companies. And they came back continually rated less than 5%. So I thought that was pretty funny. And then the last thing we want to talk about is, which we already went over this extensively, but this is very important, is in your claims process, how are they going to handle your modifications and your custom parts? You really should ask them, how are they going to repair or replace my modifications? And will my policy replace with stock parts, or are they going to replace with the custom parts that I've put in here?
All right, Angelique, we do have a few more questions on.
Yes, of course.
Okay, here's an interesting one. It kind of talks about claims.
Yes.
I use my Hagerty as insured, if Hagerty has insured my truck that hauls my fifth wheel toy hauler, which is insured by another insurer, what happens in the event of an accident?
Good question. So typically, two different scenarios there. So for liability, liability usually goes to the vehicle that's hauling. For physical damage, that's going to be whoever's holding the policy on the trailer. We'll cover that. So if Hagerty's insuring your truck and you're involved in an accident and the truck and the trailer is damaged, Hagerty will pay for the truck, and then your camper trailer policy, whatever your fifth wheel policy, will pay for the physical damage on that.
And what is the maximum liability coverage provided by Hagerty?
So for commercial vehicles, We, in general, it's 300,000. Now, we can make an exception if you have an umbrella policy. So if you have an umbrella requirement that requires you to have all your underlying policies, including your collector car policy, is required to have X amount, we will work with you to meet those requirements.
Okay. And how does one's driving record affect the rates?
It does affect the rates. If you, just like any standard insurance, you know, if you have some speeding tickets, it's definitely going to make it go up a little bit. Now, I can tell you that, so we are licensed in every single state, including Alaska and Hawaii, and each state does have some different ratings based on the laws in that particular state and how you know, that we're required to rate in that state. You know, California is a tricky state. Like they have a good driver program. So if you have, once you get, you know, past a couple of incidences, we are required to rate you higher, and your premium's definitely going to be higher. You know, if you have, you know, a DUI, we're not going to insure you. So it just, you know, there's certain things, once you get to a certain point, just like standard insurance, we wouldn't cover you, but we definitely will rate if you have some incidents on there. We go back 3 years generally. So it's something where things will fall off and the rates will drop back down.
Okay. Here's an interesting scenario for you.
Okay.
I have a small excavator I tow, and I have a trailer. I tow it behind my classic retired Peterbilt truck. If I am not doing this for any remuneration or business, but just for taking to a repair shop or to drop off at a friend's house to use, am I insured for liability should anything happen while transporting the trailer and excavator? Anything I need to be aware of with my policy on this item? I'm more concerned with liability than property damage to my vehicle.
Sure. So, you know, when we look at hauling and towing, you know, because this is a, you know, in general, your agreed value policies are collector policies, we want them to be hobby usage. So towing an excavator kind of is a little on the, you know, is it personal use? Is it commercial use? So as long as it's personal use, I mean, we're gonna cover that. But if you are hauling an excavator 4 days a week, then it's probably not personal use. But if it's something that it's occasionally done, we're gonna cover it. So with that, because we insure the vehicle that's hauling, the liability follows that vehicle.
Okay. All right. Richard wants to know if vehicle damaged and not easily repairable, is there transportation coverage to get it back home?
Yes, we do offer that as a coverage. So we have actually a really great towing program. And, you know, with large commercial vehicles, you know, with a normal classic vehicle, smaller vehicle, we have where they can be there really quick to get you. But of course, with larger commercial vehicles, we're going to need time to arrange a proper tow truck for these type of vehicles. But yes, you can buy this coverage. And it's available as a package. You know, there's different mileage tiers that you can do. But yes, that is available with the policy.
Okay. And John has a follow-up on his last question. In the car business, there are established values for most collector cars. At this point, there really isn't the same data concerning large collector trucks. How do you handle determining what is reasonable, especially considering all the modifications you just described?
Good question. So when you, let's just back up and look at classic cars in general. So our valuation guide that we produce is based around standard stock collector cars. So just like a truck, in a classic car, you can do the same thing. Modifications can be sky's the limit of what you can do to a vehicle or truck, right? So these are unique. There's not going to be a standard value for a truck that's heavily modified or customized, or a car for that matter. So what we ask is sometimes we'll ask you if you have a heavily modified vehicle. We may ask you to fill out like what we call a build sheet, right? So we break it down into categories. So we may ask, okay, so what have you put into your interior? What's been gone into your engine? So we may just ask you, so is this engine a newer engine that you swapped out? What value, what did that cost you? Same thing with paint jobs and so forth. So we just kind of ask you to indicate what you've put into this vehicle. And then we may ask for photos. But we don't ask for appraisals. We just want, we may ask for that build sheet. Based on your build sheet, we know in general across the board what it costs to do a lot of this custom work. And so we ask for that so we'll take that into consideration, and then looking at your photos of the vehicle. So, and then we can help, once again, that's what we do to determine what your value is, because this is not a stock truck anymore. And we need to work together to find what your truck's worth and what we can insure it for.
Okay. Thomas has a question. I have a 1987 Ford LTL 9000 and a 25-ton Phelan trailer to haul my antique construction equipment. Currently, Gulfway insures both truck and trailer for agreed value. Would you also insure the trailer?
If it's used for commercially, we cannot. But
like it's antique construction equipment, so sounds like you're hauling antiques.
No, that's fine. We can do it then. Mm-hmm. So if it's used for hobby usage, it's not commercial usage, and yes, you have restored. Same thing, like if you had restored tractors or a restored tank, we insure tanks, by the way. And that's something you can't just drive down the street. So you have to trailer that, right? So those are things, yes, if you have those type of things that cannot be driven down the street and you need to trailer them, we will cover that. Yeah, we can put that on the policy.
Great. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Awesome.
And we have about 5, 10, 15 minutes left. So,
okay, yes, these are all great questions, though. I'm happy we're getting lots of them. Okay, so Hagerty protects the vehicles people love with our insurance coverage, of course, but we also made it our mission to protect the lifestyle that revolves around collector vehicles and driving them. Let's celebrate automotive culture and protect the right to drive for future generations. So our promise for Hagerty, as the world's largest provider of specialty insurance to vintage vehicle enthusiasts, we will use our scale, resources, and expertise to support initiatives that help make sure the vehicles we drive, the community that surrounds them, and the hands-on experience of driving them are worth keeping alive. So how are we going to do this? So first of all, we need to protect the future of our automotive past. So I'm going to talk to you about the Historic Vehicle Association. Much like the mission of ATHS to preserve the history of trucks, the trucking industry, and its pioneers, the mission of HVAA is to promote the cultural and historical significance of the automobile. The HVAA was founded in 2009 through the philanthropic support of Hagerty. It's now morphed into the Historic Vehicle Association has developed a National Historic Vehicle Registry to carefully and accurately document America's most historically significant automobiles, motorcycles, trucks, and commercial vehicles. The vehicle right here that you see on the screen, this is called the Future Liner number 10. It was constructed and used by General Motors for the Parade of Progress from 1940 to 1956. The Future Liner was the 6th vehicle added out of 26 vehicles so far to date to the National Historic Vehicle Register. So the National Historic Vehicle Register is much like, and we are working in conjunction with the Department of Interior. So when you have the National Historic Register of Places, this is the same thing that we're doing for vehicles that are part of our American history. So the one thing we also need to make sure we do is we also need to look to the future. So Hagerty, we are working to ensure the hobby's future, and we want to make sure that we're passing the keys to the next generation. So here's a couple of initiatives that we're doing. Our RPM Foundation. So the RPM Foundation, it accelerates the growth of the next generation of automotive restoration and preservation craftsmen through formal training and mentorship. RPM was founded through the vision and support of Hagerty. So what we're doing here is when you have the craftsmanship of how to repair and restore collector vehicles is unfortunately, like a lot of trades in our country becoming lost. So we want to make sure, this is very important if we want to have classic cars and have them survive, we need people that know how to restore these. So we work through this foundation and give scholarships and work with youth that want to go into this trade. The second program that we do for the youth is our Hagerty Youth Judging. So this program guides youth ages 6 to 16 through the show field as a group to judge pre-selected show vehicles and have them interact with the owners. This allows the young judges to learn details and history and fun facts about classic show vehicles. So actually today at 3 o'clock, we are having a virtual youth judging with 6 ATH members, children, who will have this opportunity to judge and learn about a couple of our ATH members' trucks. So really, really excited to do this. Correct me if I'm wrong, Liam, but we are going to record this and it should be available for people to view.
Yes, we'll record it so everybody can see what that was all about. We are keeping it just to them so they can judge and ask them questions.
Yes.
After that, we'll let everybody watch the byproduct of our first Hagerty virtual youth judging.
And I have to tell you, we've put 1,000 kids through this program across the country. This is the first time we're doing it virtual, so it's pretty exciting.
It's been a process.
So the other thing that we do is our Hagerty driving experience. And what this is we actually, so it's designed to teach young drivers age 15 to 25 how to operate a manual transmission. And we do this all behind the wheel of exciting classic cars. So how we pull this off is we work with clubs across the country. And our members are fantastic. They bring out some amazing cars for these kids to drive. And I have to tell you that the parents are usually very jealous that they get to drive some pretty cool cars. So it's always fun to watch. Lots of patience here, a lot to teach, but it's something that we feel very strongly about, that it's just not taught anymore. And we want to make sure that these cars can be driven in the future. So what's next for Hagerty? So our next big initiative is actually, we are going to try and save driving. So the world of vehicles and driving will change more, we really believe, in the next 30 years than it has in the last 130 years. Why? Driverless vehicles. They're inevitable, but we're not going to let them force us off the road. We believe with absolute certainty that people will always want the choice to drive, which is why we've pledged to save driving. I'm going to wrap this up today with a short video to show you guys on this initiative. And then if we have time, we can open it up to a couple more questions.
Okay. Remember, don't forget to share your computer.
I did that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start this. Do we have time for any more questions?
Yeah, we have just a couple minutes. If anybody has one last minute question, if you want to throw it up. Right now, I just have one. I actually kind of think it's funny that you just put that up there. John had asked about advertising seems to lack some evidence of trucks.
Yes.
But I know you guys are starting to actually get more trucks in there with the picture that you have in front of us being on exhibit.
Yes. So we, yes, we did. And I think it's been a year, a little over a year now. We went down and did a photo shoot so we could get some pictures with a couple of ATH members. And you may recognize some trucks here. But yeah, so we are definitely, that was a big push for me. Wanted to make sure that we promote our retired commercial vehicle program. And with marketing, of course, great pictures help. So I'm very thankful to the couple members that allowed us to come out and have some fun shooting their trucks. But
I was going to say, I think most of them probably recognize the trucks.
Yeah.
They're pretty.
Yes, they're beautiful.
Yes, they are. John, you're unmuted. Go ahead with your question.
I just wanted to say, Marty and David are a couple of really good friends of mine, and they were at really nice trucks, but some of us, the rest of us have trucks too. That's all. Nice to see you, Angelica.
You too, John. Yes, you do. I know you do too. Yeah, I think that was, anytime, we're going to get some more. But yeah, I am just, the last couple of years, I had the opportunity to come to your show and just amazed at the caliber of the trucks that come. You guys.
Oh, just kidding. Nice job. Good presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, Tom LaPointe. Go ahead with your question.
Do you have coverage in Canada, and also do you have like a combined coverage? Because I also have a $59 Chevy. So that's my two questions.
We do have coverage in Canada. And yes, that was a good question as well, combining coverage. So we, whether you have So any vehicle, so if it's a semi, a classic car, a motorcycle, we actually will put that all in one policy for you. And then it qualifies actually for a multi-vehicle discount. So yes, we can combine those.
Yeah, that's always good. Thanks.
Yeah, you're
All
welcome.
right, thanks, Tom. Well, and speak of the devil, who is here but Mr. David Schnauts? Unmute yourself, David. Maybe.
Got it. Got it. Hello,
Hi,
Angelic.
David.
This is David. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Just fine. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's really nice, and we appreciate your support, of course.
No, thank you for you all joining. That's awesome.
You bet. And John Vanetta, he's a good friend of mine too, but I wouldn't worry so much about him. His trucks aren't shiny.
Some are.
I love it.
Sorry, John. But no, that's all, Angelic. Thank you so much. And
Oh, you're welcome.
kind of put a plug in there that everything I have that I can have insured through Hagerty is insured through Hagerty. And to the group out there that's listening, I don't think you'll be disappointed if you give them a try. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, David. All right. Anybody else have any quick questions? If you can, just raise your hand. Otherwise, we are drawing in on our time. Wow, that went a lot longer than we thought it would.
That's okay.
That's good.
Yes.
We had amazing questions. Thank you, Angelique.
Thank you, everyone, for allowing me
informative.
to present. This is awesome.
And this is being recorded, so we will put it back up. If you know anybody who has questions about insurance, we can get them in touch with Angelique, and she would be more than happy to talk to them about it. Thank you all. We have more programming tonight. Don't forget about our awards dinner. You do have to provide your own dinner tonight, but it will be live on YouTube later this evening. You can get the link on our website later today. So thank you all, and we look forward to the rest of the convention. Bye.